So, do I tell the joke or not?
Tell the joke?
Yeah.
So it's a hot summer day. Hot summer day like we're about to have, right? Spring's about to be done, like tomorrow. It's a hot summer day, and these two little boys want to play in the sprinkler, but they can't because their dad is mowing the lawn, and so they can't play in the sprinkler. So they just want to be wet. You know how it is when you're a kid, you just want to be water, right? So they have this brilliant idea, we could go get baptized. And so they knew enough that baptism meant water in some way, so we'll go get baptized. So they went down to the little church down the road, and they started bugging the pastor. They're like, we want to get baptized. And he's like, no. And so they were just irritating. They keep asking. And so finally he gets so frustrated, he takes the little boys, dunks their heads in the toilets, and sends them on their way. So they went back to the porch, and they're like, what religion are we now? And so one of them says, hey, we're Baptist. And the other one said, no. Uncle Will got baptized, and they did a whole tub of water, and we're not Baptist. He said, well, maybe we're Catholic. Like, no, remember they just sprinkle water. They just thought for a minute, and one of them finally says, oh, I know who we are. We're Episcopalians. Okay, so I'm giving you a laugh. Now I can get serious. So these little boys, they wanted an adventure. You see, there really was a tie-in to my talk. There really was. But our almost decided not to tell the joke. But anyway, so in 1950, in a radio broadcast, Ernest Holmes, who wrote this philosophy that we study, he said this. He made this declaration: God is our adventure. So I don't know about you, but I just love adventures. Do you go on adventures? Like, do you? So what do you consider an adventure? It's like, so for me and my brothers, when we were little, we would be the ones going, how do we get wet? How do we have fun? Like, we would do something. We might go down to just an empty, vacant lot, but if we were doing something we'd never done before, we would call it an adventure. And I kind of brought that word into the relationship with my daughter. So my daughter, Kelsey's 26, but on days when we are going to explore a place that we've never been before, we're like, okay, today is an adventure. We decided it was an adventure. So a few years ago, I was visiting her in Seattle, and we had realized that neither of us had ever ridden the light rail, which is kind of new to the city. We'd never ridden the light rail all the way to the end. So we're like, let's go ride the light rail. So this will be our adventure. We're going on an adventure today. So, you know, we got on up there in the north where she lives, and we wanted to ride all the way to the most southern point, which is the airport. And we would peek out at, you know, what was going on, and most of the time we didn't get off the train. But in the international district, we decided to get out, and there was this great big market called a Waijamaya there in the international district, and we went and explored all the interesting foods and gifts and things that they sell there. Then we just got right back on the train, did nothing else, just ride the train. But we're just kind of playing it by ear. So that was our day of adventure. Nothing exciting, but it was exploring new things. So inherently, the word adventure to us meant that we were doing something unknown. There may be a risk that something unexpected might happen. We may or may not have a decent meal that day, and the day could turn out to be really fun, or it could be a flop, because the bottom line is, Mommy had not made a plan. Like, there was not a plan. We were just kind of playing it by ear. I was not in charge. The experience itself was in charge. We would just follow our instincts. So that's what adventure meant to us. Don't you love an adventure? If you haven't been on an adventure lately, go make yourself a day. Go. Is there a light rail there? No, go ride the bus or something. But anyway, Holmes is saying that God is our adventure. So what do you think about that, right? So here we are in this magnificent teaching. It's a spiritual teaching, and we're called to demonstrate in our lives that here in the center, in our community, in the world, or whatever, that having a higher consciousness, having more awareness about the divine, just makes life better. So to do that, we've got to dedicate our lives to living from the perspective of the truth that we know that it's all God. Everything is God. And that qualifies as an adventure, because we've got to trust that everything will unfold as it should. Ernest Holmes puts it this way. He says, the physical universe is the manifest body of the one infinite reality with a capital R. And the one infinite reality is more than the physical universe. Creation is an expression of the one infinite reality. It is inherently good and is ever evolving toward greater expression of good. So if the entire physical universe, this planet we live on and everything beyond that too, is the infinite reality, and all of creation is of this infinite intelligence expressing into form, then every single adventure that we go on in life is about exploring God itself. God itself. It shows up as every object, every person, everything. God is in all of it because God is all of it. So when most people think of adventure, they think of risk, right? There's risk involved. But I looked it up. The Latin root of the word is advenire, which means to arrive. To arrive. So if we're going on a spiritual adventure in life, we are dedicating ourselves to arriving in the awareness of God. And when we have that divine awareness that all of the universe we are exploring is spirit itself, there really is no risk. There can be no failure or uncertainty. So my talk title today is No More Holding Back. There is within each of us this divine urge, and I know you feel it. You have this divine urge to grow, to learn, to explore, to move beyond limitations that we experience. And we're also urged to see the good in everything. Man, we temper that down, don't we? Like, I don't want to see the good in this, but there's good in it. So Ernest Holmes describes that. He says, there is an inner urge in our minds to grow, to expand, to break down the barriers of previous limitations, and to ever widen our experience. This persistent urge is a divine influence and irresistible force, and constitutes the greatest impulse in human experience. So there's this inner longing for freedom and newness. So why do we hold back? Why do we need a talk title of No More Holding Back? I think we need such a lesson because we forget that everything we're feeling the urge to explore on our adventure called life is God. And so it is good. And it's beautiful in its own way. That's what Derek's saying. We forget that we can have great faith that in the truth of oneness, if we're all one, in the truth of oneness, we are never alone on our adventure. We forget that the divine urge that we're feeling comes from our highest self. It's put there by our souls to explore. This longing for something more is sacred. The great adventure in life is to find the God in everything. Find God in everything. It's there, but we've got to look for it. We've got to look for it. The whole adventure is to find God in every relationship, in every situation we're in, every conversation, every vista around every corner, in every challenge. It's there. So I made this little list. If we're looking for God, what are we really looking for? In the middle of conflict, we are looking for the peacekeepers. In the middle of chaos, we're looking for order. In the middle of disagreement and discord, we're looking for the peace that's underneath all of it, just waiting for us. In the middle of nature, we're looking for the beauty. In the middle of a relationship, we're looking for the connection. In the middle of the moments when we behold ourselves in another person's eyes, we are looking for the reflection of the divine that is within us. In the experience of pain, in the middle of the pain, we're looking for the moments of ease and wisdom. In the middle of destruction, we're looking for those rebuilding. In the middle of hate, we're looking for the helpers. In the middle of seeming imbalance, we are looking for balance. And in every single thing, we are looking for how love shows up. That is the adventure. That's the adventure. Finding God in every moment of every day, finding the love in every moment of every day. In the middle of anything, we are looking for evidence of the divine. And I think we hold ourselves back because we doubt. We doubt we can find God in something. We doubt we can discover the good, right? Even when we can't see it, we doubt that the good is there. We fear that we won't find beauty around the corner. The adventurer within us relies on our opening our lives up to these infinite possibilities, trusting that the good is always there. You just have to find it. But the good may not be in the most obvious places. It may not be the most obvious choice. It may not be the easiest choice. And it may not be the most expedient choice. It's often hidden in the smallest of things, in the most unlikely places. But every opportunity is a holy opportunity to find the divine. Every adventure is a holy adventure to find God in every place and everything. You know, you can experience that thrill of adventure in the things that people talk about being risky or thrill-seeking. They refer to adventures that way, like mountain climbing or hang gliding or deep sea diving or zip lining in a rainforest. Those are all adventures that kind of come to mind when you talk about adventure. But there is divine energy also in the quiet and solitude moments that we have. Everything's beautiful in its own way. Say yes to finding that truth over and over throughout your life, because everything is beautiful. Everything is balanced. Everything is in order. It all depends on your perspective, right? And sometimes the adventure is to back up far enough to see the bigger picture, to see the bigger pattern that is revealing itself. It reveals the beauty and the balance and the order the more you back up from something. You know, sometimes in the middle of an experience, it's hard to see the divine, isn't it? Like when you're sweating on this climb in a mountain or something and all you can see is the rock and the dirt and all of that, it's hard for you to see that day as beautiful when you're struggling up that mountain. But when you get to a certain height and you look back, their beauty is evident and clear. It's there. The path was perfect the entire way, but step by step it was kind of difficult, right? The steps that we take when we're climbing a mountain are in faith that once we get to a certain place, the beauty will become evident. And it will reveal the purpose of this trek that we went on. I have a story. Half a century ago, a man was to walk a wire across Niagara Falls with another man on his shoulders. And they practiced and practiced. Week after weeks of practice, the final moment of the event kind of drew near, and the rope walker cautioned his young colleague on his shoulders in this way. He said, "We're about to risk our lives. I am to walk the wire. The whole responsibility is mine. You have nothing to do but match my moments. If I sway to the left, let yourself sway with me. If I sway to the right, you let yourself do the same. Under no circumstances try to save yourself, for there must be only one will in this adventure, and that will is mine. That will is leading us to a positive outcome. You must submerge your individual attempts to course correct, to ensure harmony, for without perfect unison, we are both lost. There's only one thing for you to do: sway with me." So he stepped out onto the wire with his companion on his shoulders, and as they drew close to the opposite side, the unexpected happened. The long vibration of the wire broke. It broke into two, and then, according to the law of vibration, that vibration will break more and more and more, until these shortened, like wave-like movements became so violent that the man could scarcely keep his feet where he placed them. It was like this perilous moment. But the feat was accomplished, and the spectacular adventure was a success, and they were all over the newspapers when they did this. After this, the young man who had played that secondary part, settled down in his life, in his private life. He married and became an active leader in his spiritual community. And he used to say, "I learned more religion on that wire that day than in all of my life. I learned the only way to live is to sway with God." Sway with God. Trust the divine intelligence that is within you, and have faith that if your intention was set to cross the wire to the other side, Spirit will show you the way to get there. But you've got to relax and you've got to trust. Trust life. You know, you've got to choose to sway and remain flexible. Sometimes the way you think you're going to go is not the way that's clearest to go. Sway. You can't hold back and control everything. I know some of you guys, you white knuckle your way like, I've got this, I've got this. Just sway with the movement of life and trust. The biggest lesson today is to say yes. Say yes to the opportunities that you're given in life and go find God in them. Get out on the wire of experience and sway. Accept invitations to try new things. If your intention is to continue to improve your circumstances, remind yourself that Spirit is always going to be bringing you opportunities to do just that, to improve. But these improvement opportunities are often disguised. They're disguised as challenges, invitations to go places you've never been, try things you've never tried before. And in the face of those kinds of things, what do? We balk. We're like, ugh. Saying yes to new things is saying yes to change. Saying yes to the unknown. So if you're clinging to things the way they are, you might balk, right? Why do we do that? One word: fear. We're afraid of the unknown, aren't we? We don't want to fall. We don't want to look stupid. We don't want to disappoint ourselves or others. We don't have faith that around every corner we're going to find this new expression of God, just waiting for our discovery of it. We forget that we're adventurers in our core. That's who we're born to be. We forget that in everything we can find the Spirit of life in it. In the Science of Mind, it's written, in the midst of plenty, humanity lives in want because of fear. To overcome fear is the greatest adventure of the mind of man. To overcome fear is the greatest adventure, because when we overcome fear, what do we find? Love. Love is the opposite of fear. And love is another name for God, right? So I found this fable that illustrates this approach most of us kind of take to life. There once was this criminal who had committed a crime. And the type of crime is not of consequence, but since he was a criminal, he had indeed committed a crime. Because, hey, that's what criminals do, right? So, okay. Anyway, he was sent to the king for his punishment. And much to the criminal's surprise, the good king told him he had a choice of two punishments. He could be hung by a rope, or take what's behind the big, dark, scary, metal, mysterious door. The criminal quickly picked the rope, without hesitation. However, as the noose was being placed on his neck, he turned to the king and said, by the way, out of curiosity, what's behind that door? And the king laughed and he said, you know, it's funny. I offer everyone the same choice, and almost everyone takes the rope. So, said the criminal, tell me what's behind the door. You know, I obviously am not going to tell anybody. You know, he said, pointing to the noose, and the king paused and answered, freedom is beyond that scary door. But it seems most people are so afraid of the unknown that they immediately take the rope. So where in your life are you choosing the rope instead of trusting that God is behind every door? Your consciousness prepares the way for you. So have faith that your right and perfect path is always unfolding, even if it leads to a big, scary iron mystery door, right? Freedom is in not choosing the rope. What is the rope? The rope is the familiar, same old pattern. The rope is refusing to find the adventure of God. So let's hold in our minds the expectation of good in every single day. Let's be curious and excited that wherever we go, we're going to discover God in this adventure that we call life. Remember that life is all God, so that means life is all good. It just takes faith to not choose the rope. No more holding back. Run toward your adventure of freedom. And I have a one-sentence affirmation for us.
With unshakable confidence, I participate fully and freely